All right, it should be there, but we'll see how this goes. Um, so I'd be like, today's today's stream is brought to you by my jacked up ass computer. Yeah, move shit out the way too. That's what today's stream is brought to you by. Today's stream is brought to you by my jacked up ass computer, high levels of anxiety, and just trying to make it through the day. Just trying to make it through the day. I know I see, yeah, I probably see the bags under my eyes. I was working on the computer for the whole time and it was not successful. It did not want to operate. So I literally had to reset my whole computer because there was, I guess, faultiness in certain things. So I had to like redo everything, reinstall everything, replace everything, and just now I'm going through the process of actually just putting stuff separately. Um, let's see. I want to just start it that way, so that way people see that. People will tune in. Whoever tunes in, they tune in. If they don't, they don't. It's okay. You can't control that. This one will just be like a simple one, small one, just chat. Yesterday we had our yesterday we had one of those impromptu lives. Um, and it was just basically going over the stuff. We had a question on we had a veteran that was concerned with his he was concerned with the CMP exams. And I think CMP exams is something that I think veterans could do better on. The thing is that they don't know what exactly they're supposed to say. And it's not like there's a rehearsed there's not a rehearsed objective when it comes to doing a CMP examination. And that's what I think people tend to fall into, that problem where they think it's like, oh, I have to say this specific thing, or this is something that I have to mention. This is something that is part of it. And I think that's part of the problem that we run into as vets, is that when we go into these CMP exams, we're not prepared for it. Most veterans don't understand what it is that they go through, uh, and the explanation of going through that. So the CMP exam is something that you can do that is can be stressful for some people, because for some people it might be a mental health awareness CMP exam. For others, it may be musculoskeletal or whatever other disability claim may be. And the thing is, it may be tough for veterans to understand that hey, when you're going through a CMP exam, it's what you say. It's the same thing when you are going to, let's say, physical therapy, or you're going to the VA. It's off of what you say. What you say is the biggest criteria for getting a reduction, getting an increase, getting the rating that you deserve. The CMP exam goes a long way when it causes that. That's the thing that most people don't realize, that the CMP exam can be your savior, and it can be your hindrance, because you can win with it and you can lose with it. The same way when you go to the VA and you get seen by the doctor, you can win with it and you can lose with it. It's just depending on how you go about the situation, how prepared you are, what it is that you're actually stating. Um, and that's the one thing that a lot of veterans don't like fully understand. That is, like, you go into that CMP exam, you should be prepared. You shouldn't be, I wouldn't say be caught blindsided, but you should be prepared to go in there and explain yourself or elaborate on what your issues are. In the case of when it comes to the mental health evaluations, when it comes to the CMP exams of mental health evaluations, that's something that you want to make sure you have your stuff written down. Make sure you have a notebook, a little notepad. even if it's on your phone and you have it, and just let them know, like, hey, these are the issues I'm dealing with. I have them on my note on my phone. I have them as notes, just basically to clarify and easier for me to identify, like, hey, these are the issues I deal with. This is the problem. This is just like I've been having issues with memory, which I think every veteran has, because so much stuff that we have to try to pick up, understand, learn, regurgitate, teach somebody else, that you start throwing away stuff that you learned just to put in new information. Like your brain is like my computer, but sometimes it crashes like my computer. Oh, like I said, that's why we're doing it this way on my phone today. So I can't show people anything, but it's more like questions and stuff. But that's what it goes with the CMP exam. If you're going in there prepared and you have like a notebook and it has everything that's there, it explains how you deal with it. Because the thing is most people go into the CMP exam and they have no idea what the CMP exam is going to be. It's knowing that, hey, you are going into this to figure out and learn what it is that's causing you disability, what it is that's hurting you, what it is that it's affecting. That's what you need to make sure you're explaining. Because the thing is I know for a lot of veterans, it's I went into my CMP exam and I said, you know what, today I'm feeling okay. And then you stopped. You started saying, hey, I'm feeling okay. Today's a good day. And you stopped. You didn't explain the part of, on my worst days, I can't move. On my worst days, I can't pick up my coffee. On my worst days, I can't cut the lawn. You see what I'm saying? So you stopped at the point where you were saying you were good today. That's what the CMP examiner gonna write down. So you could have been having a good day, or you could have been on medication when you went to the CMP exam, and maybe the pain was subsiding or wasn't as bad. And you mentioned that, but you failed to mention that at my worst, this is what happens. So the CMP examiner is going to take it as you are at this position because, oh, you're okay. You're not doing as bad. It was just like you came in here because you wanted to get rated for this, but what you're telling me is that you're doing all right today. But you didn't mention that on the worst days, this is the effect. This is the problem. This is how it affects me. This is how I need assistance and stuff like that. Because you got to remember, for everything is different things. So it's bad leg and back pain, but he is scared to complain about it. What should I say to encourage him to say something? Um, the thing is that's one of the hardest parts, Miss Gmos. It's one of the hardest parts to tell people to go get help. That's one of the things. It's difficult. If he has bad leg and back pain, that may be like sciatica. He may have a bulging disc. He may have a dislocated disc. What he needs to do is he has to make sure he gets seen so he can get diagnosed with something. Because the thing is depending on how long apart he's been away from the military, that has an effect to it. If he's just getting out and is recent within the year, it's not as bad. But when it goes past that year point, he has to get diagnosed. He has to get seen. It was just like, it's tough to tell them, like, hey, you should go get seen. It was just like, look, man, do you want to go through this pain the whole time, or would you like some assistance with it? Good morning, Annette. It was just like, and that's the thing you have to separate. No sound. Y'all can't hear me? What? Hold on. Why can't y'all hear me? Hold on. Maybe if I do this, it should be working. Oh, you can hear me. Oh, I was about to say, I was like, Annette, do you have your volume down? Annette, do you have your volume down? Is that it? Well, I was so confused. I was just like, hold on. I was just like, I thought it was doing. I hear you. Okay. What's up, Cam? I was just like, okay. Annette might have forgot to put her volume up. Did you forget to put your volume up, Annette? Is that what you did? She forgot to lift the volume, and she's like, oh, okay. Okay, everybody can hear me. Okay, there we go. All right. I was so confused. I was just like, I got my phone. Okay. So, but that's the main thing. Hold on, let me see. Did it go back to okay. So yeah, hear me good. Cool. Um, but that's the thing, that going to the doctor or something for us as military veterans is difficult. Because the thing is depending on the era, depending on your platoon unit, wherever you were at, for some you were ridiculed for going to get seen and considered weak. And that was the mentality that they put in there. And some people don't know how to alleviate that. Some people don't know Some people don't know how to escape that issue. And it's just like a mental barrier that some people go through, that is just like they got so used to being told, hey, you don't need to do this, you don't got to do this, that you just have to explain it to them and try to get to the person just by saying like, look, man, I know you're dealing with these issues, I know you don't want to get seen for it and stuff like that, but look at how these issues are affecting you right now. Would you Do you think you would be better off if you didn't have this leg pain or this back pain? Do you think you would be able to do more? Do you think you wouldn't be as stressed? Do you think it wouldn't deter you from doing things that you actually enjoy doing? And you got to put it into that perspective when you talk to people like that, because the thing is, for most veterans, it's going to be difficult for you to tell them that, and they're going to be like, oh, fuck off, I don't want to hear that shit, get away from me. But then it's like, you have to put it in a different perspective for these veterans for them to understand. It was like, look, man, you got back pain. That means you probably got back spasms. That means that you probably can't walk for too long. You can't run for too long. You can't stand. If you go fishing, you won't be able to stand for too long. Or you sit down and you need a cushion or stuff like that. You have to put it in that and observe how and what they're doing and use that as ammunition to try to get them to be seen. It's the same thing when it comes to mental health stuff. Mental health is difficult because it's hard to get somebody to go see a therapist. It's hard to get it to have somebody go see a counselor. It's hard for that to happen because it's just like, you know what? They went through some rough periods of time that they don't want to talk about it. It's trying to get them to understand that, hey, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to speak on these things. It's not going to affect your manhood. You shouldn't care what anybody else does. You should be taking care of yourself. That's what it becomes. Is like, you have to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Don't worry about any other things. Let's make sure that we are continuing to better yourself. It's okay to be selfish. I said this in another live, and I was just I forget what I was probably like discussing something, but I just mentioned him when asked him her law and put paint patches on, give him new socks and some water. It's like that's there also is like you're assisting, but the thing is just like if you have like if he's having certain pain like that and stuff like that, that means that there's an underlying issue. It's the same way where I tell people there's no disability claim for back spasms. Back spasms is something that happens, but the thing is if you're dealing with back spasms, that means that you have an underlying issue that is causing back spasms. Whether it's a dislocation of a disc, a strain in your back, something, whatever the case, something is causing your back spasms. So you have to identify and figure out what it is. Another part of it is also a lot of the times when we were in service, we do not get the adequate diagnosis. Most of the time, I would say more than 50% of the time, service members get misdiagnosed. And most of the time, the misdiagnosis is done on purpose to make sure that they're still fit to fight and ready to deploy. Because I spoke to like yesterday, I was talking to a friend, my friend and a husband, and that's what it is. Okay. He should go get seen by a doctor to get an X-ray ordered or anything, whatever is possible, Miss G. Whatever is possible. Because the thing is you need if you're gonna decide to hey, you're gonna go and file a disability claim, you have to find out what's wrong. If that means an X-ray, an X-ray is gonna show if there's structural stuff. An MRI is gonna show if there's something different. Because it's like you're gonna have that there and you're gonna see it, and it's just like then now you may have a bulging disc or you may have a dislocation of a disc, which the X-ray will show. But then the MRI can also show if you're having this leg pain that shoots down, maybe it's because of the fact that it's pinching a nerve and stuff like that. So those are things you want to identify because then it's easier for you to get assistance for it. Because if you just go and just get one and they don't offer the other, it was like it happens. They still may be able to figure it out, but at the same time, most things when it comes to us in our body is like one thing is triggering something that's causing another. Then it goes that starts like the whole secondary issue, condition stuff. But you have to make sure he gets diagnosed. He has to get seen. He has to get seen, whether it's through the VA or not. If it's not through the VA, it won't be through the VA if he's not diagnosed for it or is in service connected for it. So you have to. That's when you have to look at it from the outside perspective. Get an outside entity, go to the doctor, get checked out for it, then use that to get it, because he has to be seen. Because the thing is a problem is a lot of vets will be like, hey, I'm dealing with this, and they'll just file a disability claim. And if you don't have any diagnosis, you don't have anything, you're gonna get denied. There's no way around that. You're gonna get denied if you can't provide information as to, oh, you have back issues. Okay, what are your back issues? And then you just be like, oh, I just have pain. The VA is gonna look, the CMP examiner and the VA, they're just gonna look at you like, bro, this is all you have. You don't have no document, no nothing. It makes it difficult for you to actually have a successful claim that way. But you have to be seen. That's the main thing by any veteran. No matter how hard-headed you are, no matter how tough you are, no matter what era, no matter what your MOS is, no matter how many deployments you had, you still have to be seen. You have to be diagnosed. They have to know what's wrong with you. Yeah. If there's no, yeah, basically what a if there's no documentation, that shit, nobody knows. They don't know what you're talking about. How do they know it happened in the military? And the thing is that sometimes these issues happen and it happens outside of the military and people still claim it within. But then it's the case of you have to get it diagnosed, you have to get it documented, and then you have to make sure to make the connection between the two. Ms. G, the problem with a lot of it is like, look, that's the conversations I've been having lately, and it's been going towards that more. A lot of people tend to try to blame the VA, and it's incorrect to do that. Because the thing is so many veterans don't know the process. They just think that, hey, I just go, I tell them this is what's wrong, they get a disability rating, they get compensation. It doesn't work like that. You have to show why it happened, where it happened, how it's affecting you. If you don't have paperwork or documentation showing that, the VA is going to be like, look, we don't know. You could just be making claims up. And the thing is people will say, oh, the VA is out to not help you. But it's just like, if you're not helping yourself, it's kind of difficult to have the VA help you. The same way I tell people, if you don't know what you don't know, the VA don't know what they don't know about you. If you can't prove it, that's what it is. It's like anybody. If you're going to make a claim or a statement, and you have nothing to back it up, it was just like, it's kind of hard to believe you. I was like, oh, this is what's going on. And you have no facts, you present nothing. It was just like, nobody's going to believe you. They're going to be like, yeah, you're in pain. You can see that they're in pain, but you can't show me why it is you're in pain, how it is that you got in pain. How did the military cause this? With a lot of the military causes a lot of it, but a lot of people get into that mentality that they don't get seen, they don't get assisted, they don't get taken care of. And as that happens, it just gets worse for the veteran. The veteran ends up being worse because then down the road, this ailment gets worse, gets worse. Then they decide to get out the military. Then it's just like, hey, you're hobbling, or you need crutches, or you need a walking stick or a cane or something like that. And it's just like, how'd you get that way? Or it's like, oh, it's because of the military, but you never got seen for it. So it's like, without a diagnosis, without any kind of physical documentation showing that you have an issue, it's tough. And then imagine going into a CMP exam and then you don't know what the hell is going on. You don't know what they're going to ask you because you haven't looked at the CFR. You haven't looked at the Code of Federal Regulations and seen the schedule of ratings to know and understand, like, hey, oh, this is how they're going to evaluate me. But then also, you didn't do your due diligence and your homework to provide the documents that you need to prove that you actually have the issue. Because I could say I have back issues, I get back spasms, but if I can't tell you what's causing the back spasms, I got leg pain. Cool. Is it your hip causing it? Is it that you have a bad knee and it's going upward? Is it a muscle issue? Is it a spine issue? Is it a sciatica issue? Like, you see how that could just go into a long, overwhelming, just like, hey, I got these issues, but you can't define it. There's a whole list of reasons why you could be having this pain. The VA is not there to try to figure out what's wrong with you. The VA is there to help you once you know what's wrong with you. That's the distinction that people need to make. People think that the VA is there to make sure they figure out what's wrong with you. No, the VA is working off of what you can tell them is wrong with you. So if you got a back issue, you got the documentation, you have that, then the VA goes, you know what? Now we know you have a bulging disc. You know what? We're going to refer you to physical therapy. You'll be taking physical therapy to fix that dislocated disc. Not the VA is trying to find out, like, yo, what's your back issue? That takes up. It's not that they don't want to. The thing is that that's not part of what they do. They're there to make sure you get care and you get those benefits and you get those resources that are available. Because if you get service connected for any of those things, and that's the thing, most people think it's just like it's for the pay. Because I know a lot of veterans that'll be like, look, I feel like it's a handout and I don't want to get the pay. That's fine. If you don't want to get the pay, go get the disability, right? Take that pay, donate it to a charity, but go get seen. Go still at least get that medical documentation and that medical assistance that's going to help you have a easier and livable life where you're pain free. You may not be pain free, but best believe when my back is having issues, you best believe I'm taking my medication. It was like it's not fun when you got kids and they running around and they want to do stuff and you be like, nah, I can't do that right now because my back. That shit ain't fun. Y'all seen y'all kids' faces when they do it when you do that, when you tell them that? It's just like heartbreaking to them. I was just like, I can't do that. I'll pop some pills. I'll deal with the pain later. Me being hard headed, but that's what it is. But if you can't explain that, it's difficult. There's too many veterans out here that think. Hold on, yeah, I'm trying to work on this computer while we do this. So maybe next week we can have a functional stream. That's why we're doing it on the phone, y'all. If y'all don't understand, my computer basically crashed on me. Um, so literally everything I had set up when it came to the live and all that, making sure to be able to show you, gone. Everything is gone. I have to start from scratch and build it all up again. So, yeah, that's why we're doing it on the phone. So we maybe end up doing a couple more off the phone this week or two. Good thing is it's spring break for the kids, so I don't got to worry about that. So I can probably concentrate on making sure this is up and running and creating everything back up again, so that you guys would be able to see it. Oh, that's what popped out. Okay. But yeah, that's the main thing with it. You have to be able to identify those things. You have to be able to tell these people, and these people need to be able to see what's wrong with you, why you got diagnosed this way, how did this happen, like why did this happen. I was like, because that's the only way you're gonna get compensation for it. You're not gonna get compensation just because you say I'm hurt. Everybody's hurt. You in the military, you hurt somehow. You may want to deny it. You may not want to agree with it. You may not want to tell somebody, but you hurt. Something is causing this pain. You have some sort of pain, whether it's mental health issues or physical body issues. Something's going on with you. Just some people refuse to go get help. But at the same time, it's just like not knowing. And that's why, like I said, going into a CMP exam and not knowing what the hell is going on, you hindering yourself. Because the thing is most people use the CFR and some people use it to like lie. And that's the problem I have. That's why it's just like you don't see me doing any instructional videos on, hey, do this, do this, do. No, I just explain to you what is there. What you decide to do with your information and information I've taught you and you've learned, that's your issue. That's not on me. Anything you want to use, how you use it, that's on you. I'm just teaching you what it is you need to know to know where you're going to be at and how you get those resources. But if you go to a CMP exam, have stuff written down. There's nothing that says you can't go in there with a notebook prepared. It's an examination. It's not no like statewide test that you got to, study for and stuff like that. There's no need to study for something that you already know what's wrong with you. But if you don't have it written down, you're going to forget most of the stuff that's valuable, that's important, that you can state at that CMP exam for them to know. Because the thing is most of us can't remember what we ate yesterday, let alone you're not going to remember what happened 3 years ago or even further, or shit, even what happened last month. And then you want to go into an examination, a CMP exam, and then them ask you questions and you just draw blank. If you draw blank, then that means it wasn't bothering you as much as it should. Because that's the thing. You got to look at it. You got to look at it like this is one thing that veterans need to do. Veterans need to start looking at it from the opposite lens. Sit down in the CMP examiner's shoes, right? If you got a veteran that comes in and okay, we're here to check on your back and we're here to check on your knee. Cool. That's what we're here to check on, right? So you come in, I see you wincing when you sit down. It's not, okay. That could have been your knee, that could have been your back. I don't know yet. But now when I ask you, so like, hey, so you're here for your back, it's just like, because the thing is that's the other thing that people don't understand. Some people get scared at the fact that the CMP examiner isn't hitting you with the 50-cent 21 questions. You're not always going to get hit with the 21 questions. You're not always going to do that. And veterans need to understand that you are not always going to get hit with the 21 questions. It's not going to be 50 Cent sitting in front of you asking all these questions. That's not how it works. If you have your documentation laid out and so like on point, they don't ask you that many more questions. Because the thing is when they go to a certain topic, so okay, we're on your back, they look up your back. They see what you're claiming and they see what the issues are you have. Then they try to pull up all the documentation they can by searching for it on what's wrong with your back. If you have an MRI or you have an X-ray and the X-ray shows your disc is over here and your spine is here, I don't gotta ask you if you had a dislocated disc. You see what I'm saying? If you have an MRI showing that you have your disc lined up and then one of them is like pinching the nerve and you see it through the MRI, I don't gotta ask you if you had a dislocated disc. I understand you have a dislocated disc because your paperwork clearly shows that. Now the questions are going to be like, okay, so how does this dislocated disc or how does your back affect you? But then mind you, remember, they're going to pull out the gynometer and they're going to ask you your range of motion. I was like, hey, I need you to stand up. So you stand up and then they're going to be like, hey, I need you to rotate to the left. You rotate to the left. Need you to rotate to the right. I need you to rotate to the right. I need you to bend forward. You bend forward. The problem that we have here as veterans is that you may have an issue with your back, but when they tell you to rotate right, you tried to rotate as far as you could in pain. Went left, well, it's opposite there, but yeah, you go and it's just like, oh, you turned, but you're in pain. Like you're making faces because it's painful to do. And when you lean right, lean left, same thing. The problem is that instead of stopping when the pain starts, you continue. I'm observing it because I see you wincing when you're doing it. You may have a CMP examiner that tells you, hey, man, I need you to stop when it hurts. I don't need you to push through. And then you have certain CMP examiners that don't give a shit. They're getting paid regardless. They tell you to turn all the way. You turn all the way in pain. Well, I guess it's not that painful if you can rotate your whole body. See what I'm saying? Like that right there just showed like, okay, you're in pain, but it's not painful enough that it deters you from having a full rotation. Or it doesn't deter you where you can touch your toes with no problem. It was just like, you're in pain. Yeah, I see that. But you ain't that bad because you can, that's how you get that 0% and you just get service connected. Because you're in pain. I seen you had a dislocated disc, but that dislocated disc isn't affecting you enough that you can't turn the whole way or you can't bend the whole way. And then when it gets looked at like that, it's just like, oh, okay. I was just like, and that's something people don't understand. People don't view that. And that's where we run into that problem. Same thing. Now I'm checking for your knee. You go and you flex your knee and you flexing it and you able to just flex your whole knee all the way down and up, but you're in pain while doing it. I see you're in pain. So I see it's a painful motion. But the thing is you're telling me that it's painful, but not painful enough that it deters you from moving your leg up and down. Because you got to remember, the VA is not concerned. I hate saying it this way, but it's kind of like you have to say it. The VA is not concerned with your pain. Why? Because pain levels are different between individuals. Some person, that pain can be destructive, like can't do shit. Like it's just terrible. And for some, it's like, I'm gonna fight through this. Depending on who you are, doesn't matter the C&P exam, you can be crying. But if you can still do all this, they're gonna see it as like, okay, you can do it, but you can't do that. Same thing with the mental health evaluations with the C&P exam. It was just like, if you've been seen, they're gonna see that you have behavioral health records. They're gonna see that you have mental health records. They're gonna see that you're on depression medication or anxiety medication or whatever the case may be. That's gonna be in your record. So it's already known and justifiable to see, okay, you're here for mental health. I already see you are on medication for these things. Now the question is like, how does it affect you? What are you not able to do? What functions can you not properly take care of because of these issues? That's when they start paying attention to that. That's when it starts becoming that. It's just like, oh, okay. So because of your mental health, you can't remember certain things. Or because of the anxiety you get, you can't drive. You can't go out to eat. You can't go out in public spaces. It was like, how does that affect you? It's just like, well, I can't go out with family or something like that on family events because there's too many people and I start panicking and I get a panic attack or whatever the case may be. And it makes me have to leave and it makes it uncomfortable for my family. That's something that's affecting you because why? That would cause a social impairment. So now you just explained what your social impairment was. That socially you can't interact with people because of that, because it's like too many people. You get a panic attack and you start freaking out and you got to dip out. That's how it affects you. Not, I can't do this, I can't do that. I was just like, if you don't elaborate on what it is, it doesn't seem that bad. If it's just like, yeah, you can't go outside, okay, you can't go outside, but how does that stop you from anything? Yeah, you can't go outside, but how does that stop you with interacting with people? If you don't explain that part, like I said, some CMP examiners will go in depth and they will ask you these questions because they know veterans don't know. And some CMP examiners, it's not their job to have to ask you that. They are there to evaluate you on what you are saying and what is in your records and what they're assigned to do. If you don't want to elaborate on what your issues are, the CMP examiner is not obligated to keep asking you questions. They ask you the questions because some of those questions are mandatory for them to ask. The how does it make you feel? The how does it stop you from doing things? Like, how does it affect you on a daily basis? Those questions are always going to be asked. No matter what, those are going to be asked. It's not going to be when they start asking you, how did you get this? Stuff like that. Those questions end up being because of the fact that, hey, something happened and it's in your records, but I can't fully clarify what this info is. Okay, that's the piece I was missing. And that's what people need to realize that it's just like you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to, if you can't tell them that, that's where you run into that problem. You need to be able to clarify that. Once you clarify that information, it makes it easier on the CMP exam for you because you've given a breakdown of it. If you can't give a breakdown of what's wrong with you, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. How do you expect a person that doesn't know who you are, never seen you before, never spoken to you before, and then you're expecting them to just know what it causes? You can't do that. That's what hinders you. That's what hinders a lot of veterans because a lot of veterans don't voice those issues. They don't voice the part that is just like, yeah, I wasn't able to do this. My mental health doesn't allow me. Look, I used to love going on walks in the park. Now I get anxious when I see people walking towards me, or I see people I don't recognize, or I see something that just might trigger me. Those are the things that you need to make sure you are explaining and stating so that that way you're painting that full picture. I was like I said, these people don't know who you are. You have to, you're painting the picture of what's wrong with you so that they can fully understand. Because you got to remember, these people, if they're a CMP examiner, you're not the only one they've seen. They've heard tons of stuff. They haven't heard it from you though. So it's just like if they want to be lazy, they're going to be lazy, but there's nothing forcing them to ask you. They're going to ask you the ones that they have to ask that's in that list that they have for the issues you're dealing with. How does it affect you? What can't you do? Like, hey, you have a knee issue. It was like you can't bend now. It was like your kid asks you to pick you up, you can't pick up your kid. That's a daily thing that you can't do that you want to do that helps you and is like it stresses you out or it causes you anxiety. It causes you some depression basically because you can't take care of your kid or you can't pick up your kid how you would like to do so. And it affects you mentally because you can't function that way. Or hey, I grew up an athlete. I grew up running, playing basketball, playing football, playing tennis, whatever the case may be. I can no longer do the things that I love to do and would be a hobby for me because of the fact that my knee is so jacked up. If I try to run the next couple of days, I can't do anything. My knee's too messed up for me to do anything. I can't run anymore. So it's just like I can't play tennis. I can't even chase around my kids when they run around and want to play tag. It's just like those little instances are what paints that picture in that CMP examiner is just like, okay, this is affecting them in this manner. Now I got pain. My knee hurts. They gonna look at you like, oh, in pain, knee hurts. Doesn't say how it affects him. Doesn't, and that's when they'll just be able to put it just like doesn't affect his daily activities. Because you didn't say it affected your daily activities, did you? You just said it's painful and it hurts. Painful and it hurts. Has no other issues. Service connected, 0%. And then vets will come back mad, like, man, the VA sucks. It's just like I'm dealing with this, all this stuff. And it's just like they gave me a 0%. I should be at like 40. I was just like, well, if you would have explained yourself and how it affected you, you may have gotten an increase. The thing is that yes, you're in pain. Yes, your range of motion is limited, but you still function properly. The musculoskeletal ones is different because they're gonna go off of the gynometer, and that's what the ratings is on the CFR. It's mostly the angles and the percentage that you can move. But when it comes to mental health, is you explaining what's wrong with you. If you got PTSD, it's gonna suck. That PTSD evaluation is gonna suck because you may have to relive certain situations. You might end up being there and reliving a situation that your mind completely blocked out. And you might break down, you might get angry, you might do that, but you have to be able to show that so that they understand this is what's causing you harm. This is what's causing you to not function as the regular person. Cruz is not being Cruz because of this. If you can't explain that, you can't show that. It's damn near impossible for somebody to not know you. Like, how do I know you got mental health issues if you can't tell me? You don't walk around with a light on top of your head that says depressed, anxious, trauma. You don't have that there. I can't tell. You can be one of those people that hides it very well. You could be a person that could be going through depression all the time. It's like look at most of the like look at how you say like a good example is like Robin Williams. Y'all know who Robin Williams is. Robin Williams was a funny ass comedian, and this dude committed suicide. Would you have known? No. This dude was always happy, always trying to make people laugh, always trying to make people smile. If I see it that way, I can't diagnose you with something. If you come in and you're in a good mood and stuff like that, I'd be like, oh, this person ain't that bad. But then if he decided to say, well, I'm like this because I try to hide what I'm dealing with. I'm like this because I have these issues that I can't express. I can't state. I can't elaborate too much on. Like those are the things that people don't realize that when they go to the CMP examiner, that's what you have to say. You have to do that. You have to put that in the notebook. It's just like, look, I went through this because they're gonna ask you, especially when it comes with the musculoskeletal part, they're gonna ask you, What aggravates it? What is aggravating this issue for you? What is causing this to get worse? What actually makes it feel better? Because then it's them trying to understand, like, okay, got these knee issues. What makes it feel better? Lifting my knee up, icing it, taking medication, which it doesn't make it feel better. It just numbs the pain, stuff like that. That goes into your CMP exam because they're explaining that. You're explaining what makes it better and what makes it worse. What makes it worse? Walking, running. I can't do squats. I can't lift weights while doing it. Trying to strengthen my body, I can't do it because it causes me pain to try to strengthen my body. Stuff like that. Because the thing is then you're also showing that you are trying to alleviate the situation, but the situation is worsening. So it's all on what you say. It's you have to be specific and you have to be vulnerable to the fact that it's just like, hey, you going through these issues, just say it. Don't hesitate to say these things. You have to make sure you are able to explain these things because the thing is they don't know who you are. The same way, put it like this, the same way when people come into these lives and they ask me questions, I have no idea what's going on with y'all. I got no idea. I'm going off of what you're explaining to me and me trying to understand these things off of what you're telling me. But the thing is I don't make any assumptions. I try to ask as many questions without being too what can I say? I don't want too much I don't want any personal information. I just want the information that helps me assist you because now you're clarifying, like, oh, I deal with this. This is the problem I have. How can I get help with this? And it's just like, okay, now you told me from what you told me, I get a better understanding of what's wrong with you. But then sometimes also when I'm trying to help you, I try to elaborate on certain things that comes to mind to me. They're just like, okay, maybe they didn't say this, so maybe they didn't think about this. Or maybe they knew this, but if I say this and it maybe clicks on them, then they might say something else. But at that same time, if you're asking a question, I have no idea what your background is. So let's say you ask me like how Miss G asked about back and leg pain. If you ask me, I don't know how you got that back and leg pain. You could have been airborne, jumped out of a plane. You could have had a rollover. You could have been in an explosion. You could have. I don't know what that issue is, but the thing is you have to be able to clarify that with the CMP examiner. Now with me, I'm just trying to help you. But when it goes to that examination, that's where you need to make sure that you are able to explain what it is. The CMP examination is one of the biggest parts. Documentation is one thing, the other part is the CMP. But like I said, with the question I had yesterday when I was live, it was like they were asking about sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is one of those that you don't really need to explain. That's one of those rare disability claims that you don't need to explain. Because the thing is once they see that sleep study and they see that you got obstructive sleep apnea, I don't gotta ask you if you got sleep apnea. I don't really have to ask you how it affects you because I know if you ain't breathing right, your oxygen ain't right, you're probably dead tired, you probably deal with chronic fatigue syndrome, you deal with all that. That one is self explanatory. With muscles and joints, that isn't self explanatory because I don't know, it doesn't affect everybody the same way. Sleep apnea, that's known for everybody that you ain't getting good sleep. There's no maybe I got good sleep. No, there's a definite, all right, we know you are not getting good sleep. So that's something that needs to be explained. But those are the rare ones that you can do that with. And that's let me put this back on. Which this? Oh. But yeah, that's the thing that it comes to it. It's just like if you can't explain yourself, I don't know what you're talking about. But if you can't go in depth as to what's wrong with you, I don't know. I don't know who you are. I was like, I'm gonna try to assist you as best I can, and that's what I tell veterans. You got to look at it from the CMP examiner's perspective. I don't know who you are. I see your documentation. but your documentation doesn't say everything. A picture, you take a picture of somebody, you're going to see that picture. You don't know what that person's going through. You don't know what was running through their head. You don't know why they wanted the picture. You don't know if they didn't even like the picture. You don't know any of that. You just seen the picture. You have to be the words and the little caption on the bottom of that picture. Knee injury. Oh, this happened because of this. We were doing training and it was a training exercise. We were doing aerosol thing. We jumped off the tower. I jumped down. After that, I heard a little pop or I fell wrong, twisted this, stuff like that. And now I haven't been able to run the same. It causes me pain that shoots down this way, stuff like that. When you explain it that way, then that CMP examiner is like, okay, I got you. I see what it is. I see what it's causing. I see how it's damaging you and how it's affecting you. So now they can write that down and jot it down. But if you just say, yeah, I'm good today, my knee don't bother me that much today, and don't fail to exemplify the part of, hey, my knee is messed up and it does this to me, that's on you. It ends up being on the veteran. That's not on the VA. Like I said, if it's most of the time, depending on the CMP examiner, if it's a CMP examiner that has that knowledge and has been working with veterans for some time, they understand that I need to ask you a bit more because I know you ain't telling me the full story. And for others, it's just like, look, I'm going to get paid as the CMP examiner no matter what. You came in here for your knee. I'm going to ask you what I need to ask. I'm not asking anything extra because according to this, all I got to ask you is these questions. However you answer them, that's what I jot down. That's what I submit. That's what I put into your file. And that's what I send to the VA rater. Then the VA rater gets it and he just sees it's just like, oh, he is hurt. It did happen in service. Okay, service connection. All right, let's look at the CFR. Well, it can bend the whole way. It doesn't affect them or anything like that. So it's like it's painful, but we could probably just put him. He can probably go to the VA and then probably put him on pain meds and he'll be all right. 0%. Then you get that letter. You're so excited, thinking, oh yes, I'm gonna get that increase, or I'm gonna get this rated, and you come back and your shit says 0, and then you just mad at the you mad at the fucking world. And then the part where you don't understand what your actual ratings things say, and then you get even more pissed off. And then you read the one that pissed me off the most. Well, we found evidence, but we still didn't give it to you. Bro, what? And then you just mad at the world for the next couple of days. But if you know what's going on, all right, you found this. Now I know what I need to do to fix it. Some people don't look at it that way. Some people be like, you know what? Fuck this shit. I'm pissed off. Fuck the VA. I ain't going back. I'm not doing this no more. I'm going to just give up. It's easy for you to do that. The VA, trust me, the VA is not going to come chasing after you like, no, 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 come back. Refile. Just resubmit this. No, that's on you. They just take it as this is your job. You want these benefits? You need to earn. I'm not going to say you need to earn them. You need to fight to make sure that you get them. Because sometimes the VA messes up. Sometimes you mess up. Sometimes we don't know who messed up. But at the same time, that's a hindrance that you're taking, and that's something that's setting you back or setting another veteran back. Because now you told the man I went and I filed. And it's just like people see you walking with a limp and stuff like that. And then they're gonna be like, man, I only got 10%. Nobody ever asked why you only got 10%. Did I notice that part? Nobody ever asked, why did I get only 10%? Everybody's like, I got 10%. And some people leave it as, you know what? I got 10%. I was like, well, if you fall under the criteria that should have gotten you that 30, you need to fight for that 30. Not just sit there and just be like, you know what? I'm good with 10. Fight for that 30. Figure out why it is you got only 10. Why am I only getting rated at this amount? Oh, because under the CFR, it says that if you did this or did that, this is how you get that rating. And I was just like, oh, that explains it. But if you don't look at the CFR and you're just expecting 100% off of your shoulder injury, you going to be in for a bad day. You're gonna look at that shit and they're gonna be like, well, according to the CFR and the documentation and what you stated, this is the what you got. Why is this thing so fucking difficult to complete? I was like, well, you stated that. That's what you're going to get. It was just like, we're not going to go above and beyond and ask you. Like I said, you may get hit with the 21 questions sometimes, but when it comes to the VA rater, the VA rater ain't asking no more questions. It's going off of what you said. You said you were good to go. You good to go. It's like, you ain't in pain. You doing all right for somebody that's in pain. You good to go. They're not going to do. It was just like, if you didn't do the extra work to make sure you were successful in your claim, why do you expect somebody else to do it? Why? And then why blame somebody else? The CMP exam can be easy if you just tell it how it is. Just tell it how it is. That's the easiest thing you can do. Tell it how it is as a veteran, how it affects you, what you're dealing with, what's your worst day, what's your best day, what aggravates it, stuff like that. Elaborate on it. Don't just give simple answers. Don't just simplify it by like, well, what makes it better? Ice. No, say what it does. What makes it worse? This, and that. Just like you got a knee injury and you say, oh, what makes it worse? Standing. Sit the fuck down. That's what I'd be thinking of as a CMP examiner. Stop fucking standing so much. If that's what aggravates it the most, sit your ass down. Walk around with a little chair or something. It was just like, if that's what aggravates it, standing the whole time, it's just like, all right. But look at what you said, standing. You didn't say standing for a certain amount of time. You didn't say standing in this manner or standing waiting for something or standing and leaning on it or standing in. You see how you didn't elaborate on standing? It's kind of hard to tell how it really affects you if you just giving one word answers and you just trying to get over with the shit. Look at how I just went on how the different types of standings. Because if I'm a doctor, I'd be like, sit your ass down. Stop standing so much. You know it bothers you? Sit down. This whole sitting standing desk ain't gonna work for you because if you standing, it's gonna mess it up. Sit your ass down. Is that the best answer? No. But at the same time, you didn't elaborate on what makes it worse. And then the thing is then you get seen at the VA and you still don't elaborate on it and you still give the same fucking answer. These people can't, they're not going to help you if you don't allow them to help you. You have to be able to allow these people to help you so that they can better understand how to better help you. You can't explain what's wrong with you. It's hard to diagnose you with something. You can't explain why you have these attacks. If you got panic attacks and you can't explain it, it was just like, all right, if we're going to treat you, we need to find the underlying issue that's causing it. Because the thing is what people don't understand is just like, you get that 100% P&T, it's because your shit is static. It's because they know your shit is not going to get better. The VA wants you to get better. The VA ain't trying to pay people. It's not that they're going out of their way to not pay you, but they're not going out of the way to make sure you get paid. That's on you. You got to make sure you are doing your due diligence to make sure how to do that and how to go through a CMP examination. Because if you don't do that, you don't know what to say, you don't know what you're doing, it's not my problem. I can't help you if you don't know how to help yourself. Thing is if you don't want to research and you don't want to do the legwork to make sure that you are taking care of yourself, you make it even more difficult for yourself too. And just like, but that's the roundup of it. That's the easy way of explaining that stuff with the CMP exams. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're saying, it makes it difficult for you to be able to be successful. You don't got the documentation and you don't word it the way you should word it, that can hinder your VA rating. Same way if you go to the like, put it like this, if you go to any VA examination or anything like that, you are never fully good unless you are fully good. And that's something that you need to learn to explain. You need to be able to explain, like, yes, I am dealing with this. This is the problem I have. But once you start saying, oh, I feel great. Oh, you feel great? Okay. Feels great. That's what they're going to write down. They ain't going to ask you anything else after that. Then you go again. I still feel great. No pain, no nothing. Hey, he's come in here twice, physical therapy, and had no pain, no issues. Show up the third time, same thing. No pain, no issues. Then next thing you know, you get hit with that reduction letter. And then you're like, why the hell are they trying to reduce me? Well, according to you, what you said was that you are feeling great 3 times back to back and you had no issues. You didn't elaborate on the fact that you were feeling great that day. But then last week you had this issue, that issue. Because it's like, I go to the chiropractor. I'm like, look, I'm feeling a little bit better today, but during the week, man, I was all medicated up because my back was just flared up. Had to put an ice pack on, had to try a massage gun, all that stuff. And then when you put that there, there's like, they're going to put that in the notes because it's going to say, yes, you were great that day, but throughout the week, you were basically bedridden. That's two different things in two different ways. Whereas you will not get a reduction letter because it's like, oh, can't give this person a reduction letter because they basically said they're feeling great today, but their back is still jacked up. Things like that. Those are the things people need to understand when it comes to those CMP examinations. Um, looks like my computer's turning on now, which hey, we have a good thing. The only problem is now I got to reinstall, redo everything. Um, but at least I know we have the computer's up and running. It hasn't crashed on me, which was the biggest issue I had. Um, yeah. So, but yeah, that's all it is, y'all. It's just like that's the important thing with the CMP examination is you got to make sure that's taken care of. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not voicing the stuff correctly. Um, it's hard to help yourself. It's hard to help yourself when you don't know how to help yourself. But it's also having that mental preparation and that ability to be able to tell people these are the issues I'm going through. This is what's bothering. This is what I just realized. Why is my room so damn dusty right now? Jesus Christ. I was like, but those are the things that you need to make sure that you are doing and you're explaining. If you can't explain yourself, it's difficult to be successful when you can't explain yourself. It's difficult to prepare answers or get anything done if you can't explain yourself. So that's why you got to make sure you're doing that. Make sure you are able to dedicate yourself to the point where you can do that. If you can't, it makes it difficult. If you can't explain it, it's difficult. You can't explain yourself at a CMP exam, it's difficult. If you can't explain yourself at your medical appointment, it's difficult. If you really can't explain yourself on a mental health evaluation, you are not going to get evaluated properly. So I say, write this stuff down. Like, like I told them yesterday, you have your I Love Me book, which has all your achievements, all the good stuff you've done, and you have my I Hurt Me book. And this is all the stuff that affects you and it hurts you that you need to document just in case you need to provide information for it. Especially when it comes because people have like the app tracker for like migraines. That's something that's there. That's the documentation. So when you have that and you provide that and produce it, it's like, hey, here's the list of all the times I've had migraines and I've had headaches or whatever the case may be. This is how it is. On these days, I've had to lay down. On these days, I've had to do that. And when you explain it that way, it's like 10 times easier for them to just see it. Your documentation doesn't tell you how bad it is. Your documentation tells you you deal with migraines. It doesn't tell you how bad they are. It doesn't say you have to go to sleep. It doesn't say you have to lie down. It says you got to take the medication and you take the medication. But That's the extent that it goes to. And if that's the extent it's going to go to, you're not going to be, like I said, you're not going to be happy with your results. All right, I'm going to change this to F. So that'll be F. This will become E. But yeah, that'll be, we'll just end it on that note. I wanted to make sure I went over these issues and just spoke on it and just elaborated on it so people understand. I'll just label this like a CMP examination talk on one, but we'll just end it on this note. I'm gonna try to see if I can spend as much time as possible to try to redo my computer so that way next week we have stuff up and running. Um, that way I can actually show it and do a workshop on something else, or maybe just have more information out there for people to be able to use. So as always, I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate it. If you can check out the website, like I said, leave information, contact us, contact me, leave what you need, what information may be viable to you, what may be needed. I already showed yesterday the template for the state resources, and then I guess my computer didn't agree with it, and then it started crashing consistently right after that. So maybe I shouldn't do the states, or maybe I do. I don't know. But yeah, appreciate everyone tuning in. Hope y'all have a good rest of y'all week. I know it's spring break for most. Enjoy it. Enjoy the time with the kids. Try to take advantage of this stuff. Try to take care of this. Try to do this so that way we can be up and running next week. And we'll probably do lives. We might have to do them on the phone throughout the week just to try to get some stuff in. But appreciate y'all as always. Be good to one another. Take care of one another. Look out for one another. Love one another. Stay marvelous while doing it, y'all. I'm just Cruz. This has been a veteran awareness workshop. I appreciate y'all. Y'all take care. I'll see y'all some point throughout the week or next Sunday. Hopefully, I got my camera and stuff up and running. Appreciate y'all. Peace.